May I please come in, sir?
Yes, come in.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir.
Please be seated.
Thank you, sir.
Are you fully vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
No symptoms of COVID? Eh?
No, sir.
Okay. You may remove your mask.
Thank you, sir.
Anjali,
Yes, sir.
please introduce yourself to the board, highlighting your educational qualification and work experience, if any.
Sir, my name is Anjali Shrotriya and I come from the city of Indore in Madhya Pradesh. I've done my schooling from Indore and my graduation in computer science engineering from Medicap's Institute of Science and Technology. Post my graduation, I have been preparing for civil services with geography as my optional subject. Sir, in my free time, I love to do paintings, especially the gaunt form of paintings interests me, and I also follow tennis. Apart from that, I consider myself to be a very cheerful, optimistic and a very hardworking person.
Good. Anjali, you tell me that you are, you just said that you are a computer engineer and aspiring to become a civil servant. Anyway, no issues. But you tell me, computer engineers, are they not getting enough opportunities in their own field of education?
Sir, I would say that there are jobs in the country for the computer engineers, especially with the coming technological boom and the digitization we are talking about. But the employability and the skills among the engineers still is a concern. We have around 40% of our engineers as employable. Skills is something, sir, I believe we are lacking on that front to provide employment.
So, you know, we are fully aware of the fact that large number of engineers are not employable in our country. There is a huge gap between academia and industry. Now, what is the way forward? Suppose you become a part of the solution making body, then what is the way forward you suggest?
Sir, I believe that to tackle this industry academia linkage that we are talking, firstly, we need to look at what industry needs, what are the skills they are looking for, and we need to develop our own curriculum in that sense. Our curriculum is outdated. For example, industry is looking for particular skills in people skilled in AI or machine learning, but our curriculum is not set according to that. So if I'm given an opportunity, I would like to update the curriculum with the industry relevant skills. Secondly, sir, our higher education institutions, they need to be reformed in the sense that our faculty members need to be more trained. Apart from that, more students exposure. For instance, the internationalization of higher education we have been talking about. So the more foreign faculties and the more foreign visits we are exposed to, we will get an idea of where we need to move ahead further. These could be some of the reforms that we can implement.
The government says that the new education policy is a positive step towards that direction. Do you agree with that? And why it says like this?
Sir, the new education policy is revolutionary because it is trying to overhaul the entire education structure in the country, right from the school level till the higher education level. In the school level, we are focusing on the age group that we did not considered formally to be a part of education, with 3 to 6 also now being included. And sir, in the higher education, we have been focusing more on the regulatory aspect. We felt that there were over-regulations which were hampering the development of education in higher sector. So we've brought in the a complete umbrella body, which is the Higher Education Commission of India, to overlook the regulatory aspects. And sir, one good and the positive part I feel is there's a lot of flexibility and autonomy given to the students. For example, I don't believe 5 years back I could think of taking physics and history if I wish to study. Today that option is provided to the students. So that is going to somewhere provide a lot of autonomy to the students as well.
Anjali, one thing which is bothering me, now this education policy says that you can pursue many engineering degrees without taking even maths at +2 level. How is it possible? The subject which was so integral part of qualification criteria for being an engineer, suddenly how this realization has dawned upon the government that maths can be dispensed with for pursuing certain engineering degrees?
Sir, probably they are trying to make it more inclusive in the sense that people from other backgrounds come in and they also look at engineering as something they can also opt for, like the arts and the humanities, kind of an incentive. Having said that, sir, maths is definitely the foundation of all the subjects in engineering, right from computers or electrical.
So what is your personal view? Engineering subject like architecture or fashion designing, do you think that knowledge of maths is not at that level is not required?
Sir, there are two aspects to it. One is the technical part of mathematics, which is about the various theorems and the knowledge we gain. That is important in certain fields of engineering, for example, computer science or biotech as well. But maths also brings in the problem solving and the analytical part, the analytical bent of mind in a student, which is very important. In that sense, I think knowledge of maths would definitely help somebody who's pursuing an engineering course.
So don't you think the government should revisit this aspect?
So probably they can.
Thank you, Anjali.
Okay, Anjali.
Yes.
Anjali, you're basically from Indore.
Yes, sir.
And you have taken geography as your optional.
Yes, sir.
Generally, it is said in Madhya Pradesh that Indore is the economic capital of Madhya Pradesh. What do you mean by this concept of economic capital, and why Indore is touted as economic capital?
Sir, by economic capital, we mean that the basic industries and the resources, they are particularly present in that region, and it's flourishing in the sense that even the future industrial growth would happen in a particular region. Indore is touted as the economic capital because one is the stock market of Madhya Pradesh is located in Indore, Madhya Pradesh Financial Exchange, and the IT boom that happened in the country, it's...
Aren't you confusing with something industrial and financial together? Do you mean that the financial capital and the economic capital are one and the same thing?
Sir, finance is a part of the economics. If we are talking, the larger subset is economy, and finance is a part of it. Taking this course ahead, apart from being good at finance, Indore also is very good in the other economic sectors, if I talk about, be it the manufacturing aspect given the population of the Indore, and also the agricultural aspect of the Malwa region around Indore. So combinedly, there's a development of industries, IT sector, agriculture. So that is why it is emerging as the economic capital.
You did your engineering in computer science.
Yes.
Tell me, if you look at the world,
Yes.
world of computer science scientists, where are women? We don't even hear the women coders. We never get to know women Bill Gates. Where are they?
Sir, it is true to an extent that women are somewhere less as compared to men in the field of computer science. But I think that we are definitely improving on these parameters.
Give me the reasons. We'll talk about the ways ahead later. Why women representation in the coding rooms is so less?
Sir, firstly, the number of women who are enrolled in these STEM courses, the science, technology, maths and engineering, they themselves are less.
World over.
Sir, as compared to men, from whatever I have read, their population or their proportion is a little less. And sir, patriarchy is something which is not just restricted to India, but across the world people have this mindset that women perhaps might not be better coders or more better when it comes to analytical skills.
They don't need society to accept them. The codes themselves will tell whether the women coders are good or not. I mean, if you are into engineering, you understand that your code will speak. Why the women codes are not speaking?
Sir, for that we need to give them a platform, a chance where they can come and showcase their skills. We're talking about glass ceiling where women are not being able to reach.
Bringing society into coding, which I don't understand, how is it working? I mean, the only platform they need is a laptop, which is available.
Sir, if I talk about India, even we find there is a disparity when it comes to the access of devices like laptops and computers.
I'll advise you to reread it because you're going in a direction which probably is not the right direction. But anyway, you have the laptop, you did the coding, you know. Tell me, what are the applications of blockchain apart from cryptocurrencies?
Sir, Blockchain can be used in the land records to store the land records. It can also be used in the fields of AI, and even for that matter when we talk about the agriculture. Apart from that, sir, blockchain is a technology which can be used in our health sector to store the records of the patient and to retrieve the data. Similarly, talking about the banking, the railway sectors, where we need to store our data securely. In all these fields, we can use blockchain.
I'm sure you understand what you mean by blockchain, but tell me, what is open ledger? When we talk about blockchain, it's an open ledger.
Yes, sir.
So what are the, technically speaking, computer science engineer I'm talking, what is open ledger?
Sir, I'm not very sure of what it means in the technical terms.
Okay,
so I'll have to revisit it. Yes.
Since
sir.
you're coming from Madhya Pradesh, before I let my colleagues ask you a few questions, tell me what are important dialects of Hindi that are used in Madhya Pradesh?
Sir, in Malwa region there is Malvi, which is spoken. In the Nimad region, Nimadi is one important dialect. And Bundelkhandi in the Bundelkhand region. And Bhagelkhandi towards the eastern part of Madhya Pradesh is also spoken in some areas.
Okay, now give me examples of difference between a Bundeli and a Malvi. Give me 3 sentences from Bundeli and 3 from Malvi.
Sir, I'll have to look up the exact language.
Which is your dialect?
Sir, we speak Hindi.
There must be a dialect in your area.
Sir, particularly in Indore, since it's an urban city, so we do not have the Malvi which is being spoken around.
So your city actually swallowed the dialects of its own language?
Sir, yes, because these are some of the effects of urbanization.
Or maybe there is a dialect spoken, but you have never cared to listen to that.
Sir, I did listen from my grandmother, but I think the coming generations
will not be able to speak even a single sentence from your native dialect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Anjali, you are an avid tennis lover.
Yes, sir.
Do you play tennis?
No, sir. I keenly watch it.
Okay. It has got a unique scoring pattern. What is this pattern all about and how it got originated?
Sir, in tennis we have a scoring pattern where firstly in a game there are 4 points that need to be scored, and whosoever scores those 40 points like...
Why it is 15, 30, 40? It could have been 1, 2, 3?
Sir, I'll need to look up to this point.
Sure. Okay, Anjali, tell me, why do we have to focus on wetlands in India?
Sir, wetlands are the transition between the terrestrial and the marine ecosystems, and these are the most productive zones. For instance, we have mangroves, coral reefs, which are found in these regions. So apart from their economic significance, we have a lot of diversity, biodiversity in these regions. So we focus on conserving that. Secondly, they act as carbon sinks. So a lot of carbon is absorbed. So we want to safeguard and conserve these wetlands. And so apart from that, wetlands like mangroves, they act as bioshields whenever there's a major disaster that happens.
So what are the initiatives taken by the government to develop this area or to protect?
So we have the coastal regulation zones where under which these are protected, and they are kept under category 1. Apart from that, there is also, so not directly, but we have a National River Conservation Plan under which various wetlands are also included. And we have the Ramsar Convention for Wetlands. So there are around, if I'm able to recall correctly, 42 wetlands in India of international importance.
Okay. Fine. Suppose you don't get selected in civil services and you feel that computer science is, I'm not going to spend time in front of a computer, and you suddenly decide that I'm going to do farming. So you go back to your village and start farming. So what will be your vision and how will you start, and what will be the process, like the steps?
Sir, firstly, if I have to start farming, I'll choose like what particular area of farming I wish to invest my time in, whether it is a horticulture or floriculture or animal husbandry or the...
Your district, your village.
Sir, if my district, that is Indore, I would see it as an urban area, so I'll invest more farming potential in case of soya bean, as well as horticulture. These would be my 2 areas. And so then I would look up for the fertilizers which are needed to grow up these crops, the composition which the crop needs. Sir, the land that is available to my disposal, how to use that particularly. And finally, sir, also involving like-minded people, because I won't be able to do it alone. So involving the like-minded people who would want to work with me. Apart from that, one of the major important factors I would focus is on the marketability, the connection of my farm produce to the relevant markets for, say, ENAM, or even if there's an export potential in case of soya bean, how to exploit that.
Thank you.
So in Madhya Pradesh, there is very interesting geographical feature like Chambal ravines. So can you tell me why when were these ravines formed and what were the reasons?
Ma'am, the Chambal ravines have formed as a result of the badland topography they've developed in that region.
So what was the reason? That's what
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
asking. Yeah.
Ma'am, the region has suffered a lot of desertification, because of which the ravines developed, and also there were the rivers which used to flow through these regions, the cut through these regions, they no more flow over here.
Okay.
So it's
perennially. What were those rivers?
Ma'am, Chambal River being one.
So Chambal River doesn't flow now?
Ma'am, through the ravines now it doesn't flow. That area is particularly degraded. And also the faulty agricultural practices that led to the degradation, the soil erosion in the region.
Okay. So faulty agricultural practices led to ravines development. I had an understanding that because of its badland topography, agriculture is not possible there. So
Ma'am, it aggravated the land degradation which was already present in the region. So
okay. So what is MP government's policy now? I gather there's a program for reclamation of badland.
Yes, ma'am. Recently, Madhya Pradesh government has signed a memorandum of agreement with World Bank to develop this region and extend the irrigation facilities here.
So what are specific challenges of these regions when it comes to agriculture?
Ma'am, they are degraded lands. So agriculture is
when you say degraded land, it's a very generic term. Huh? Can you give me some specific?
Ma'am, like the soil fertility, the pH of the soil is not suited for agriculture in these regions. Apart from that, water tables, these are also not enough so that we can irrigate the land.
What about salinity?
Yes, ma'am. Even the hard pans have been seen in the badland topography regions. So they become unviable for agriculture. However, if we are able to overcome them with the necessary investments in irrigation and proper advice to the farmers of the type of the crop, we can
So
grow
what kind of crops would you suggest for that area?
Ma'am, crops like millets, jowar, which need very less amount of water, and they're also drought resistant.
Okay. And you are interested in Gond paintings again?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are other forms of Gond art which are there apart from paintings?
Ma'am, there is block printing which the Gond tribals do on the saris and on the dupattas.
So lots is happening in the area of Gond art.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you tell me some of the success stories or the artists associated with it or brands which are giving and or some women self-help groups, some success stories?
Ma'am, the biggest I would say is the representation of these paintings at the COP25 last year in Madrid, where the paintings were displayed on an international platform.
Okay. I'm asking in the sense of economics of it. Are these Gond art making the tribals economically sufficient in some areas? Or what platforms they're using, what brands are helping them earn money?
TriFed is working very closely with the government to provide them the necessary marketing support on the e-commerce websites. Government is providing them skills under the Kaushal Vikas Kendras, and they have been able to make a mark to the e-commerce sites. While I was also going through some of them, I could find many Gond paintings being listed. So in a way, they are being marketed.
Only paintings?
Ma'am, even other arts, like there are saris also that have the Gond art depicted.
Apart from saris and paintings, do we see any other forms of Gond art?
No, ma'am. Mostly it's related to the paintings and printing of by the Gonds.
Okay. So my last question to you: do you ever get angry? And what was the last instance when you get really angry?
Ma'am, probably when I see someone littering or loitering on the road.
Okay.
That's one which makes me a little bit.
So what do you do then?
Sometimes I've confronted the person and I've told them outrightly to pick up the waste from the road.
So how was the experience? Did they listen?
Ma'am, sometimes they did, and they felt a little bit ashamed. Otherwise, some people also get sometimes offended. If they do so, I do it. I pick up the waste myself and throw it in the dustbin.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anjali,
yes.
You did your computer engineering from Rajiv Gandhi Pradyogiki Vishwavidyalaya.
Yes.
Right? Tell me something about the contribution of Rajiv Gandhi regarding the technological advancement in India.
Sir, Rajiv Gandhi ji had the vision of bringing the computer technology in India when nobody could thought of. He had that vision. In 1980s, he brought this computer revolution in the country and also the telecom revolution. The import duties on the computers were relaxed, and we saw the development of the entire computerization era in the country. So apart from that, he was helped in this particular work by Sam Pitroda and his team, and from then on, sir, India went on to become a software hub of the world now.
Okay, you are a computer engineer. What could be the possible utility of web-enabled kiosk for the development of tribals?
Sir, web-enabled kiosk.
Yeah.
Sir, if you could please elaborate on what...
Can you name some e-governance model for the development of the tribal community?
Sir, for the development of tribes, e-governance can be a potential game changer in terms of marketing the products that they make, like the Gond paintings, or even for that matter, their hand-woven items, which are of a great demand. Secondly, the popularization of such art, which is unknown to the world. We can create an awareness among the people so that they can be made aware of this. So thirdly, even exporting them by using these particular media. And so fourthly, I also think that recently our Honorable Prime Minister has also gifted it to the other countries. So e-governance has actually made us realize that there is a potential of these products being marketed and there's a lot of demand outside. So e-governance can be useful in that sense.
Government of MP is undergoing a hand-holding exercise for e-governance called Gyanodaya Pariyojana, Gyanodaya Project. Are you aware about it?
Sir, I've heard the term, but the specifics I would need to look.
Okay. Anjali, why you want to join in service like IAS? If you just go in the past, even Satyendranath Tagore, the first ICS, first Indian ICS, was qualified in 1864. He was not satisfied. Aruna Roy left IAS and started Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan and did wonders in the field of RTI. Why you want to join IAS? Do something big.
Sir, yes, there have been examples where people outside have contributed a lot and made a change. I believe IAS especially would provide me a stepping stone, a foundation where I can start my journey with, where I can begin with whatever vision that I have in my mind, given the scope and the diversity of the service I would be in. And so there are examples where people have done transformation being in the service as well. So I look up to them as my inspiration and I wish to replicate the same if given a chance.
You consider IAS as a first stepping stone. After a short span of time, you would like to be a politician, isn't it?
Sir, I've only thought about like the starting point. I've not thought about the later on, but I think I would want to remain in the services for quite a long time and achieve whatever I've dreamt of.
Okay. Your optional is geography.
Yes.
Let's talk about the concept of regional planning. Tell me something about the multi-level planning, regarding the multi-level planning in India, and how federal disputes are emerging day by day because of the multi-level planning which we have adopted.
So multi-level planning deals with planning at the various levels. For instance, starting with the national level, then state, then moving on to the block, and finally at the village level. So each level we recognize has a role to play. Like village level, we have village development plans, which then go up to the state level, where if they want to make or suggest any changes, they do so, and then it is finally we go to the top levels and we implement that. Through this, we are ensuring a broader stakeholder participation in the governance of the country. Sir, federal disputes are emerging because one, sometimes the approach which should be bottom up is top down and it's centralized. So the states and the local governments feel that their voices and their grievances are not heard or taken into account. And so secondly, the states also are now emerging as more independent and they want more autonomy. So therefore also we see more disputes now coming to the light.
Very good, Anjali. How can we establish a smart village in the line of a smart city? Use your understanding of geography and then speak your ideas.
Sir, if we have to develop smart villages, and talking in terms of how geography would guide it.
Use the concept of settlement, the drought-prone area development program, multi-level planning and all that.
Sir, one is the balanced regional planning. The regional disparities have to be eliminated if we are talking about smart villages. Secondly, we need to tap on the economy, that is the resources which are present in the surroundings, and that includes physical as well as the human resource of the village. So the third one, it would be about the settlement, the pattern in which the people are living. That needs not to be unplanned, but it needs to be planned for a village to be called as smart. And I also see e-governance and technology as a major factor if we want to make our villages more smart.
My last question is, what are the basic tenets of foreign policy of India?
Sir, to start with, we have always abided by the concept of Vasudev Kutumbakam, which is world is our family and we would want to help it. So secondly, it is keeping our national interest as primary. Third is about the non-reciprocity from the small neighbors, which is also the Gujarat doctrine. And so fourthly, it's about our neighborhood, which is neighborhood first policy, because if our neighbors are stable, then it would help us grow as well.
Anjali, you spoke about glass ceiling. What women in India should do and can do to break the glass ceiling?
Sir, one is education. They need to get more educated because that would pave the way for financial empowerment so that they can expand their choices which are available to them. Second would be believing in themselves and not letting others guide their decisions. So third would be to have, if they are able to come forward, then inspire the younger generation and the younger women. So the more role models we have, the more women would be able to come out and believe in their capacities.
Okay, Anjali, thank you very much. Your interview is over. You may go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Sit, Anjali.
Thank you,
You may
sir.
remove your mask.
Yes, sir.
So, how was your experience, Anjali?
Sir, it was, I would say, okay, because I think in computer science and coding questions, I need to little brush up. And especially when sir talked about Malvi and other things, I think, I don't know if that would have given a good impression or not.
You paid last year also, no?
Yes, sir. I paid last year.
Last year you had gone for the UPSC interview.
Yes, sir.
How much did you score?
Sir, I got 149.
It's low marks. It's low marks. So this time how have you done in geography?
Sir, I've done well.
Compared to the last year, you have done well. This time also you have to do much better than the previous occasion, because you are otherwise a very good candidate for the civil services. You are simple, honest, humble. All those. The only thing is one or two things. Firmness is in there in your ideas. You can speak clearly, confidently. All those good points are there. One or two things you have to be very careful about. One is that whenever a question is asked, just patiently listen to the question, and by the time question is over, you should be able to make a conclusion in your mind, what is the intent of the question, and then try to give a very crisp, very concise, very precise answer, isn't it? Instead of giving long answers, it's always better to be very crisp, very concise, very precise. That is what is very important for you. Then there's a point when you are not supposed to be entering into a kind of argument. Argument is a very subjective issue, but you should realize that how far to go and where to stop. Thus far and no further. That is very important. So never ever get into any argument. And if you don't know any answers, admit that you don't know the answer. Instead of hazarding a guess, is always better to. And stay always calm and composed and confident. And because your interview is on 13th only, so not much time to even advise you. Geography is your subject. Prepare on geography. Like you are from Indore, a lot of questions, the municipality and all that, why Indore is rated as number 1 in successive years. So those you must have prepared also by now. Then your hobbies, you want art.
Yes.
So answers can be much better in that. So whatever little time, because this is all you have said, that Gond art you know. So what are all aspects of Gond art? So that you should brush up. Then tennis is pointed out by you only. So fundamental rudimentary things, why 0, 15, 30, 40 and all that. Just have a look at that, so that you are able to, because the points which you have mentioned, there you should not be faltering. That is the whole purpose. And then when an opinion based question is given to you, think for a while and try to make your answers more effective. Like one opinion based question was asked, that suppose this doesn't happen, that doesn't happen, and you go to agriculture, then what can you do? Think of some innovative idea, some strategic, so that it shows your mind that you can think differently, you can think out of the box. So that should, one question, you should leap onto that and try to give your the best. With all that, I think you are a good candidate for civil services, and go with vigor, verb, with lot of zeal and zest, and be happy there with a smile in your face and a positive body language. You will do much better.
Sure.
Okay, all the best from our side. Anything you want to ask?
Yes, sir. Like, if I could know the answer of like 15, 30.
वो बेसिकली घड़ी के अंदर जो क्वार्टर्स होते हैं ना 4, सो ये फ्रेंच उनका इनोवेशन था, जो भी उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया था कि जैसे एक क्वार्टर 15 का होता है, 15 मिनट का होता है, फिर 30, फिर 45, देन 60. सो मैच एंड्स देयर.
एक बार गूगल करके देख लेना उसको, यू विल कम टू नो व्हाई इट इज देयर, बट जनरली यू शुड बी अवेयर.
Yes, sir. And sir, like one thing you said that I think I need to know where to stop, and I got a little bit into argument.
While you're discussing with one of our colleagues, no?
So yes, sir.
There it slightly you entered in the area of argument, so to say. So just restrain yourself, isn't it? If you don't know, you don't know. The computer science you have read, you might have forgotten by now in the preparation. Doesn't mean that you should be knowing everything, but if you don't know anything,
Yes, sir.
admit candidly that I don't know, I have forgotten. It will not give you negative marks. But if you admit and then give a wrong answer, then it will impact your performance.
Okay.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.